Okay, hey there, folks. How ya? I decided that instead of doing the fun sketching this week, I think what we'll do is we will do the Less Animate series because since I'm doing this in parts, it'll it'll take a few days to do this, but I think it made me realize that once I get a kind of what's the word momentum. That's the word I was looking for. I kind of want to keep that momentum. So if I do this every day for this week, not only was I hopefully benefit to you, but it's also beneficial to the scene because you get a kind of a flow going. You want to kind of keep that flow going. So this is what we have now. Let's pull this down and we'll move it over here so that we can see the whole thing. Play it. So we've got our guy looking and reacting. Now, you remember before I was saying that you want to make it look like your character is thinking. So, right now, I'm more interested in the poses and just starting to telegraph where I'm going or what I want to do. It looks like the way this is now, it looks like I almost have all of the key drawings. There's still a few drawings that need to be added in here that will help to determine the totality of what the scene's about. So, getting him, say, like from here to now, he's going to head over here. So, obviously, we're going to need a drawing to get from here to here. I think we could probably, generally, one would say that's an in between to go from here to here and then up to here. And then, of course, you do have, once you get to there, he's going to settle into that. So I think maybe what we'll do, let's see, we'll play this again. So we have a kind of development going on here. We see him look around and then change his expression. We could have a couple of blinks there. Say, like, once you get to here, maybe to here, let's see, to there, you could have a blink or two in here. So, like, for instance, we could do this. We could, let's see, that's 10 frames in there. We could split, duplicate, split halfway. So we have two images in here. And then we could add a drawing in the middle. Or let's see, what we could do here is we could duplicate after. So now what I've done is I have a third drawing in here that is the same. So what I could do there is that middle drawing I could have in blink. So let's say I do that. So let's say I come in here and I have the eyes blinking, so he closes his eyes for this one frame here. So it's a yeah, it's like a little blink in there. Yeah, that's good. The little blink kind of adds a little quality of something there. Then we could go ahead then and put, say, a now that drawing there is 5 frames. I mean, I suppose we could speed that up. So instead of making it 5 frames, I'm going to take it down to 3 to make it a little quicker. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we need to beleaguer it. So then if we're going, say, out of this to here, I would say ding, ding, ding. Um, hmm. Well, let's see. Well, We could. Let's see. All right. So let's say we split. Okay. So what? Let's say we either split halfway or we add a frame in here. So let's say if I added a frame. So if I add a drawing in there, like right now, that's 5 frames. So if I add a drawing in here, add after, that's going to put a 5 frame difference between those two drawings. Doesn't mean I have to stick with 5 frames. But let's say I start to turn his head, right, in that direction. Right. So I lean his head. So in other words, I'm kind of leaning into that next pose. I can change the eyebrow action. So as he starts to do that, I can maybe drag the hair a little bit, like it's gonna drag from that position over this way. Maybe here I start to show his mouth start to close here. Maybe have the ear there. So what I'm kind of doing here is I'm kind of dragging his head over. I could even keep his I could move his head, but I can really just have the head start to make the move and have the rest of his body almost like not move very much. And I'll just do like a sketch in here. Let's flip this. Now that's a kind of a deliberate frame, so realistic it probably would be faster. So, going from here to this. So I would say like that should probably be at least 2 or 3 frames to get to here. So let's play that at 3 frames. Yeah, because it shouldn't be, I don't want to slow this action down too much. If anything, that should be going kind of quickly here. So even this bottom frame here, I'd say maybe let's make this 3 or 4 frames to get back up to here. So, yeah. I'm going to bring this back up to fill the screen here so I can draw it better. All right, so all right. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes what you want to do on a middle drawing or a middle position is you want to favor either the drawing you're coming out of or the drawing you're going into. In this case, I'm slightly favoring the drawing that I'm leaving, sort of leaning into the drawing that I just did or that I was at, and coming out of that into the next drawing. And sometimes you can't really tell whether it's working the way you want until you flip it. It's like when we're doing this is the thing about animation is like when we were doing animation on paper, the primary way that we would test, we would get a sense of what was what is that we just had to flip it and flip it and flip it over and over, or roll the drawings. You probably heard about rolling the drawings. What we would do is we would roll 4 or 5 drawings at a time to sort of get a sense of how 4 or 5 drawings were moving in space. We weren't seeing it in the time frame that we'd see it when it would be shot. We're seeing it just as a sequence of drawings so that we can see how they play against each other. The timing would come later. The timing would be something we decide when we shoot it. It's like, okay, that's going to be 2 frames. And a lot of times, see, in the old days, the animators would time out the whole scene so they'd have a sense of how long everything, the overall scene was going to be. And then that would then affect how they would time the individual drawings, you know? So, you know, now today, because, as time went on, we got better and better devices for timing. What, I was around for the period of time when the first pencil test cameras were invented, when the first instantaneous pencil tests that you could see, which were video testing cameras, and those were instant, so you could shoot something and see it immediately, which was a huge advantage because up until that time we didn't have that ability to see things instantly. You shot a test and then might have to wait a week, or Disney was one maybe the fastest place because they had their own camera department. They could develop their own film, so you could shoot something on film. Or you could send your test to the camera department. They would shoot it on film, and usually within an hour you get the film back. And everybody had moviolas in their room. Those of you probably want to like, what's a moviola? Moviola basically is it's an editing. It plays your film, and what they would do is they would send us a loop. They would take the film, and then they would make a loop out of it, so you could put it in the moviola, and it would play it over and over and over, so you could see your pencil test. And that was how we could see our animation, and that worked great. Because you were when you're animating, you're trying to get a sense of how the overall thing is going to work anyway. So your first tests, were you just needed to see a rough test of your animation. So anyways, but you had to wait to see it. Whereas now, you can see right here. We can see it instantly. We can instantly see. Oh yeah. And what's great about that is we can change the timing while we're looking at it. We can decide, let's have less frames for this drawing or more frames for that drawing or whatever. And there you can start to kind of get a sense of how the scene plays. Now, as he starts to go into that look, so I have like this drawing here is 3 frames. I'm going to make it 2 frames. Technically, this should probably be 2 frames as well. So this is going to go a lot faster now. Yeah, you see how that zips over there? Because you kind of don't want him to be moving slow. Now, what you can do to smooth it out, you can add more drawings in there. So if we go, say, between here, here, and here. So I could add a drawing in here to smooth this out. So let's say I go add after. That will add a 2-frame difference in here. So what I could do here is I can put it in between in here. I was going to start to trace the previous, maybe let's see, have that there, and then the nose. You can kind of extrapolate where you want that, to be in the middle. This is going to be coming down to here. I'll put this in the middle. And then when you initially make the in-between, you just kind of lightly rough it in. Let's see, that ear is going to down to there. The hair. Yeah. There. guess you could anticipate the nose is going to go up a little bit here. Now here you've got your, you might start to have the shoulders come up here. Yeah. And yeah. And then on the other side, they're going to have that come up. Let's see here. Play that. Yeah. So you can see by adding that one in between it, it smooths the action out. Even though it's fast in there, it smooths the action a little bit so that it's not so quick. It's still quick, but we're bridging the gap between those two drawings a little bit more with another drawing, with another in-between drawing. Sometimes when I do animation like this, sometimes I try to animate. I try to do the drawings kind of, I would say clean, but to save myself a cleanup stage, sometimes I try to work a little cleaner. But it really depends on what I'm trying, what effect I'm trying to get with the final thing. Because a lot of times I can anticipate the final thing by as I'm animating. I can sort of say, oh, well, you know what? I think I can get away with doing the animation a little tighter so that I get a more cleaned up final animation, which has a lot of advantages because then that saves me from having to clean it up even more. I've animated stuff sometimes where I've animated it fairly clean so that I don't have to clean it up. But I think on this one, I probably will do a cleanup stage on a separate level so that you can see that, because I think you do need to see a cleanup stage, because generally that's what you would have you would have before you do your color, you would more than likely probably want to do a cleaner version of your drawing, because everybody's not going to draw real clean. I mean, like, I draw pretty clean, but everybody's not going to animate the same way. Some people, they're just better. They're rough. They're gonna do a rough, sketchy animation scene, do your poses, and you should do that, because you kind of need to feel out your animation in a rough form anyway before you finalize it. I like working clean because I it's just one less stage I have to go through. That's all. But if I'm going to be honest with myself, it's better to do a rough version, because there's a lot of things that sometimes the rough drawing, sometimes it just looks better in a sketchy version. Sometimes, so it depends. It depends on the effect. So let's see now here. Yeah. One of the nice things about something that's going by at a 24 frames per second is that, with in between drawings moving that fast, there's a lot of stuff you don't see. There's a lot of mistakes you don't see on ones. But, like I say, sometimes it is better to have that rough drawing in the middle, or that sketchy look to your drawing, because then it just gives you more to work with when you're doing the initial drawing. You kind of need to It's almost like the rough is sort of like an insurance policy that maybe you need to you're still working on trying to get it to look better or to look smoother. All right, so he's we've sort of bridged that gap. I'd say we're almost at a point where we pretty much got every drawing, every major drawing we need. And I'd say once we get him over here, we might need to slow this down to get him into here. So let's see. This last drawing, I'm going to hold it 10 frames. And then here, I think maybe what we might do here is maybe we should get him up into this and stretch it a little bit more. So like, let's see. What if we do a after here, and let's say we get him, we stretch the head so that it's a little bit longer going up. Let's exaggerate. So, we get him like this, but we get him, let's see, maybe just real quick, and then maybe have the eyes kind of stretched like we're stretching to get him up into that position. So, maybe. Maybe we can, it's almost like we're kind of stretching to get him up, up into this position. Let's see, and we just do like a rough like that. See what that looks like. It's quick. It's not like a drawing we want to slow down on. It's a reaction. I'd say he'd get up into this position. Let's see. Right now, I got him there. He's there for 6 frames. Probably. Let's see. We'll take him up for 10 frames to hold this. All right. Let's see what that does. Yeah, like there's a little bit of a thought there. He's up, and then he looks. So, yeah. It feels a little bit like he jerks into that position. I wonder if maybe, maybe I'm beleaguering this too much. I tend, well, what we could do here is we could, let's see, we could, stretch him there. Let's see. What if we did something with the nose? I like doing this kind of thing where you can stretch everything on the character. Let's see. There. Let's see. And I don't know. This might be too much. Okay, let's try that. It's kind of like a stretch drawing for that 1 frame. It's a reaction. Yeah, see, it's like you feel it, you don't really see it. It's not bad. It's a little fast, a little odd. Let's see if I put it on the. We could make it like a blur drawing. I mean, if you turn the terminology blur drawing, that's where you sort of stretch everything to cover the space of where the in between would be. So it's it's literally blurring the drawing. But see, something like this, then it's got to only be on the it's got to only be on the frame on the screen for like a 1 frame. So you'll see. Watch. Let's see. Right now, I've got it exposed to 2 frames. That's about the most number of frames you'd want to see it is 2 frames. Because you want to feel it, you don't want to see it. It's either that or you don't do it that way at all. Sometimes you need a blur drawing, sometimes you don't. I guess it depends on how you want to pull that off. See, like right now, as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure I really like that. It's almost like it draws attention to itself. So let's say I don't do that. Let's say I erase that completely. Okay, and instead of doing that, I could I could go to the end here, and I could take where he ends up, copy it, and then go back to this drawing and paste it, and then move it slightly down and turn it just a little bit. So it's like I'm gonna use this drawing to get him there. Let's see. And then I will in between everything else. So let's see. Yeah, and so like I maybe drag the other stuff. So let's say, but I have the head be consistent. So let's see. All right, so his hair is going up to here. So then let's say we do this with the hair so that it's flowing in the direction of his move. Let's see. All right, like that. Okay, and uh, then we start to bring his shoulders down. So let's say we may, yeah, start to bring the shoulders down. Right. Yeah. Then let's see on the collar, we can, just kind of do a quick in between to get him over to that point. Maybe his neck. Yeah, we'll show it like in here, and the collar is there. So that's like maybe a literal in between to get over there. Okay, we could delay the mouth a little bit. So, like for instance, we could have his mouth just start to open here. So we delay the mouth opening, right? There's a rule that we used to have, and I think I might have said this already. You don't do everything at the same time, if they're at the same speed. Okay. So that things don't all happen at the same time. So now let's play that. Yeah, see, so that kind of bridges that gap a little nicer, but at the same time, it's like it's still fast in there to get him over there and settle it. Yeah. So I think we've got enough drawings to get him over here. Once we get him over here, now we could have let's see, ding ding ding. Okay, so see he's settling there. There. Hmm. I'm wondering if maybe okay, like so you see his hair, see how his hair settles over here. So I'd say what if we he's got his okay. So let's say what if we did okay. We'll do duplicate split halfway. So we're splitting that difference, this 10 frames. But in the second part of that, we're going to have his hair finally come down to its resting position. All right. So it's going to come down to where it's going to finally rest. Well, let's blow this up where we can draw it better. All right. So, yeah. So it's going to come down to here, which is where it's going to finally end up. Right? Yeah, there you go. I'll bring this back out where y'all can see it better. Okay. So yeah, so he reacts, and his hair is, or it comes down. Ding. So I'd say, yeah, like once we get it down here, let's say ding, ding. What is that? That's 5 frames. Well, let's see. Maybe we'll do this. We'll go ding. Let's make this. I'll put that 3 frames. Let's make this maybe longer. I'll make this 8 frames. And then he looks down. He's down. It's down to there. Okay. Let's try that. So he looks over, ding. Yeah. Okay. And probably, there's probably going to be a blink in there. Yeah, like for instance, here, we got, he's there, he's here. Okay. So let's say what is that? That's 8 frames. Okay, well, what we could do here is we could do duplicate split halfway. So we're going to get 4, 4. So here, I'd say, and so the hair's down. So I'd say here, let's, we'll duplicate after, so we'll get yet a 3rd frame in the middle here. And that'll be the one where we blink his eyes again. So we'll just erase in here. And we'll do a blink here. And let's see, we can do the blink where we keep the eyebrows up unless it seems like maybe we should bring them down. So let's see right here. Let's try that. Well, I think, yeah, okay, once we get to the end of this, so he blinks. So we got to hold out a little bit longer. So we register that look. I'd say hold that 8 frames. Okay. Yeah, it's a moment. Right now, let's see, 8 frames, I'd say half a second would be 12 frames. So we held it 12 frames. And then he looks over. So let's play that now. Looks, stink. Yeah, it's just a breath, a half a breath. And he's probably going to settle into that pose. Yeah, probably. But we'll determine that as we go. But I think right now it looks like we may have all of the drawings we need. We've got all of the key poses in here. We have breakdowns that have gotten us from one drawing to another. Because what you're really trying to do when you initially animate is you want to get all of the, what's the word? You want to get all of the main drawings. You want to get everything that describes the scene. So all of the drawings that are really necessary in the scene, you want to get all of those done. You want them all there where you can see it when you're flipping it, which is what we've got here. Okay, well, let's see. We're at almost 35 minutes, so I want to maybe stop it here because I don't want to make the video too long. It's better if it's not too long. All right, folks. Hey, I wanted to mention that and I hadn't really had a chance to kind of even talk about this, but a lot of my friends are talking about AI. A lot of us are talking about AI. And I just kind of wanted to mention that, and, I mean, it's not hitting me so much right now, but maybe later, is that what you bring to the table as an artist is something just very unique. A lot of folks right now are talking about AI, and people are worried about what it can do. And I can honestly tell you that I'm fascinated by AI, but I'm not worried about it at all. I think it's a tool that could be very helpful, but I'm not worried about it taking, well, it is going to affect a lot of positions and jobs and things. But a lot of times, as far as creatively, will have to do with how lazy you artists are going to be. If you're going to just rely on an AI to say write a book or do a piece of artwork or whatever, yeah, it'll do things, but there's going to be some limitations as to what it can do. And if you put soul and feeling and experience and everything into your work, the AI will only be able to mimic what you can do. And I would say that, you know, even let's say even if the AI gets accustomed to the way you draw or whatever, let's say you could build your assets and the AI could pull from that. Well, I think first of all that's a great idea, but secondly, I think it would be even then the AI is still going to be limited in what it can actually create. So you really need to start all thinking about as artists how you contribute to what you see in the world. Your job isn't just to imitate images or make pretty images. See, AI can make some extremely beautiful images, but we're the creative ones. We are the ones that are supposedly capturing and depicting and putting our feelings into the work that we're doing. And that's what you're really doing. Yes, the AI can do a lot of things, can mimic a lot of things, but it's going to be limited. I would think in terms of telling stories, for instance. Yeah, the AI can understand the structure of a story and all that, but is the AI gonna, write a book as good as Tolkien could have, or as good as J.K. Rowling could have? I don't think so. Well, because that requires a life experience, and the same thing with art. The AI can mimic, say, something that Rembrandt did or Degas or somebody like that, and it might even be able to create new images. But is it going to capture emotion? Is it going to capture poetry, romance? Is it going to tell a story from the artist's point of view? Well, I suppose that there's a lot of things it could do if it's told enough specifics. But if you're that lazy as an artist and you don't want to create anything, then you're handing over everything to the AI. So why don't you think in terms of how you, as an artist, can make yourself unique? Because you're unique anyway. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in because I think a lot of folks get so worried about these new technical things that they kind of miss the point of why we do what we do. We're artists and we're depicting and communicating how we feel about the world around us. And that's just something that requires a soul and a spirit within you to do. And a machine doesn't yet have self awareness. And even if it did, even if the machine could be like a human, it's just another human doing the same. So it's like, where is it? Where is its uniqueness? It would have to. So it would have to go beyond self awareness to, and who's to say if that's even possible? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But in the meantime, why are we so lazy that we can't create? That's what we do. That's what we do best. All right. Well, enough preaching. You all have a great day. Thank God for your good talent and wonderful stuff that you can do. And don't forget, Jesus is Lord.